I feel like people are gonna be mad at me for this.
Probably.
I don't care. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me today, where I like to talk about spending money, saving money, and basically everything money. And today I wanted to talk about 4 habits that might be making you poor or keeping you there. About 78% of the US is living currently paycheck to paycheck, according to CNBC.com. I feel like with that stat there comes some assumptions that they're just not making enough money, or work wages being too low in comparison to like housing and, you know, essentials and inflation. All of that is true, but there are some cases where people are making enough and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. Because believe it or not, it is possible to be poor while earning a mid to high income. And what if I told you that behavior plays a big role in whether someone lives paycheck to paycheck? It's not always because you're down on your luck. And here are 4 reasons why you might be living paycheck to paycheck. But before I go forward, I just want to say that the content in this video is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. This is all for educational purposes based on things that I have personally encountered and things that I have learned myself. The first thing that's keeping you poor is the habit of fearing success, wanting to make that big move, wanting to go get that better job just because you're used to the way things currently are. Making that jump can be very scary, and because it's very scary, a lot of people doubt themselves and they don't move on their instinct, and because of that they are still living paycheck to paycheck. But what does fear look like in relation to success? Because it can be different things depending on the situation. My favorite examples of fear in relation to success, and the one that I've recently just started to tackle more, is negotiation. Especially with women, we feel greedy when we ask for more money when we're trying to get a new job, or we take that vacation when we know we deserve it but we're short-staffed. I, for one, was definitely guilty of this when I graduated from college and going into my first job. I did not try to negotiate at all, and honestly, tackling this fear can get you a few things, one of which being a higher salary. A lot of people refrain from making that move because they feel like they'll get their offer rescinded, or people will look down on them or think ill of them, like think they're greedy. But the thing to realize is that a lot of times employers do expect a negotiation process, and if an employer is ever angry at you for negotiating, maybe you don't need to be working there. I would say the possibility of gaining more money as opposed to being punished for negotiation is definitely higher. The second thing that tackling the fear of negotiation can get you is better prices. The way that I practice this is by lowering my phone bill every year. I currently have T-Mobile, and what I do is I call them every year and I say, you know what, I think this bill is a little too high. And then they'll look you up, and depending on how long you've been with the company, they'll either say we have some cheaper options that have the same amount or more data, or they'll tell you to get lost. But either way, it's worth a try. I like to search for other companies, comparable ones like Verizon or maybe even Sprint, and try to see if there's a plan that's cheaper at one of those. What I found with this is that they do usually help you out. I've done it about 3 times and it brought my bill down from $70 to $40. So the only reason why I haven't done it lately is because I feel like 40 is an alright price, but once I start feeling like things are getting a little expensive again, I'll probably be picking up the phone pretty soon. So other than things like bills, when it comes to negotiation, you can also negotiate prices. And this is something that I really got to practice a lot in when I went over to Mexico a few years ago. In other countries, it's completely normal to barter, and for some reason in America, it's just looked down on so much. But you can actually do some price bartering type activities at grocery stores and at department stores as well, if you do things like price comparison. When it comes to negotiation, yes, it can be scary because people are going to say no to you, but you have to realize that a lot of people are probably also doing that, so they're not going to think like this particular person tried to price gauge with me and that makes them a bad person. So the worst you can do is try, and the worst you can hear is no. The second thing that is probably keeping you poor or keeping you living from paycheck to paycheck is wanting to please everyone in terms of your time, your money, and your energy. Being a people pleaser is one of the worst habits that you can have in your life because it opens the door to being used and taken advantage of. This actually opens the door for you to be taken advantage of in 3 ways. because there are 3 ways that you can be a people pleaser. 3 ways that I see people pleasing manifesting itself is grandstanding, not being able to say no, and failing to match what you're given. So in terms of not being able to say no, I think that's the most common one, just because a lot of people don't want the people around them to be mad at them, right? And a lot of people do acts of service and, you know, just do favors in order to be in good standing with the people around them. And I think that that is the easiest way to be taken advantage of, because it makes people comfortable with just asking you to do any and everything that they would definitely not do for you if you asked. And it just makes people expect you to constantly jump through hoops for them. And oftentimes when people fall into this type of relationship, they end up working extra hard to give the people that they care about what they want and not being met with the same. And the saddest part about this too is that when you do finally say no, or you know, you're not feeling well, you're tired, or you have other plans, the person that you've spent all this time saying yes to will get mad still, because it doesn't matter. All the things that you do for them doesn't matter. The one time you do something for yourself that's not convenient for them, they don't like it. So there's really no point in being a people pleaser in this way. The second thing that I would say causes people to be taken advantage of is grandstanding, keeping up with the Joneses, buying the newest cars, moving to that nicer neighborhood just because all your friends are doing it, so you want to do it as well. You know, I say that is another form of people pleasing because people think it's weird. They treat you like it's weird when you decide to go against that grain. So if you were to buy a new car because everyone else was, and that's what they expect you to do, what if you can't afford it? Are they gonna pay those bills for you? No. So that's definitely one way that people are living paycheck to paycheck, because they're just living within the expectations of others, even if they can't personally afford it. And then the third one is just failing to match what you're given. Matching energies, efforts, all of that. It allows people close to you to hold you to the cross while they do the bare minimum or nothing at all for you in return. Everyone always says that one line, you know, it's better to give than it is to receive, which to a certain extent, I guess that's true. When it's to the point where you're being taken advantage of, that's a joke. Honestly, the boundary that comes with this is one of the hardest ones to make, just because, like I said earlier, people will get mad at you the minute you decide to do something for yourself. But it's a muscle that I feel like once you use it once, it gets easier with time. So honestly, the only thing you can do is just keep using it and be comfortable saying no, and know that, you know, if they really care about you, maybe they'll be mad for a few seconds or even days, but eventually they'll come around, because you don't owe anyone anything in life. The next thing that is keeping you poor, living paycheck to paycheck, is surrounding yourself with the wrong people, the wrong crowd. This can be a plethora of people. It can be negative people, people who are dreamers, takers, lazy people, and complainers. We can't forget the complainers. These are all the wrong people to be surrounded by if you're trying to do better financially. The dreamers, these are people that always have an idea, but they never have a plan. They talk about what they want to do, what they see other people doing and what they think of that, but they don't ever go beyond that. This can actually get into your head and make you the same way, or you're indulging them in these conversations, but they never go anywhere. And then before you know it, you're coming back the next week to hang out, and you guys are just doing the same thing, but with a different concept. The second type of person that is the wrong crowd are takers, and they're my least favorite type of person in the world. It kind of plays hand in hand with the people pleasing aspect. Takers literally are opportunists, and they see kindness in others and they exploit that. Whether it's them being malicious or manipulative, or they're just being lazy, or they're comfortable with people doing things for them. It's all taking, it's all annoying, and it's not symbiotic. Some of them may not even realize they're doing it. Third is lazy people. They're not necessarily immediately harmful to you. It's just that if you do hang out with lazy people enough, or the most, that you could become lazy yourself. People say that you are the sum of the 5 closest people to you. That is another way of keeping people living paycheck to paycheck. And then the last one is the complainer. Everything's an issue. There's always a crisis, and they just focus on the negative. Sometimes if you think about solutions, you can get out of that situation. In my opinion, complainers like to wallow in their situations because it gives them something to talk about. There's always going to be something. That's just a cycle that will never be broken until they decide they want it to be. Honestly, a key trait that I've learned when it comes to complainers is to not put it upon yourself to want to fix issues that they're complaining about, but to just let them vent. And then the last thing that is probably making you live paycheck to paycheck or keeping you poor is not having a plan, not making it a habit to plan. Whether that is budgeting or, you know, having a savings goal or an investment goal, strategy, things like that. For those of you who are familiar with my blog, Budget Based Life, you know that I talk a lot about planning your money, putting your money to work where you could get the most out of it, whether that be in high yield savings accounts or in the stock market. And I feel like you can't do any of those things just willy-nilly without a plan. Having a basic, even a 3-step plan can definitely help you get started on building wealth over time. And I have found that people who are not really going according to a plan are more susceptible to living paycheck by paycheck, because you just don't know how much money you're leaving on the table or how much you're actually spending until you get that written down. Now, I feel like this simple act just gets you in the habit of being ready for the bare minimum, the skin and bones of what you need to be doing every month. So these are the 4 habits that are keeping you poor or can keep you living paycheck to paycheck that I have encountered in my life. But as I always say, there are way more than just 4, and I am interested in hearing some of the ones that you've run into in your life down below. So if you guys found this helpful, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, all of that, and I will be sure to be interacting with you down there. Thank you again for visiting, and I will see you next time.